And then moving on to the movie I recommended Allison, we were in the spirit we were talking about powerful women in film. I recommended her A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is directed by I don't want to butcher her last name, Anna Lily Amirpour.
Yeah, and before you got it.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So yeah, no, she is a Iranian American, Iranian American director. This was her feature film debut. She's done a couple things since then. Famously, I think probably the most famous thing that she's done is The Bad Batch, which I haven't seen yet. And then she has two upcoming projects, but this was the her first feature film that really put her on the map, and I think it's a very, very good breakout feature film. Not a lot. It's like a very interesting horror movie, I think. Like and in a setting and some subject
Oh,
matter
good.
that you don't really get to see that often.
It was so good. I'm so happy you recommended that to me, and I don't know how I'd never heard of it before, honestly.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
shit.
it's a shame because I don't how did you see it on Netflix or did you have to go through another platform?
I rented it off YouTube for
Okay.
like $3, but it was worth it. It was so worth it.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it on Netflix, but then when I checked, I was like, oh damn, it's not because like let's be real, like people will see movies on all sorts of platforms, but I think a lot of the litmus test or whatever for if someone's gonna watch something or not is it on Netflix? Can you queue it up
Yeah.
easily on Netflix? So it's a shame that it's not that readily accessible anymore. But if you definitely should check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I guess to summarize the plot, it's kind of about this young dude who's like in his mid 20s or so, and he's just kind of working to get by, save money, live his life. He has a drug addicted father he takes care of, and who sort of like brings him down a little bit. And then, sort of out of nowhere, this nameless woman appears, uh, and she starts kind of like showing up in his hometown at night and like will follow people around and just kind of act strange, and she doesn't really do much. And then they show this in the trailer, so it's not quite a spoiler, but she it turns out she's a vampire, and she sort of goes around punishing the bad people in this town, and not knowing what she is, he kind of becomes obsessed with her, and the movie becomes like about the two of them kind of exploring their relationship. So I guess I know you said that you really enjoyed it. So which first of all, that's great to hear. I'm really glad that you liked the movie. But what were some of your favorite aspects about the movie?
I loved the idea of a female lead that was basically killing people who were like mistreating sex workers. I think that's incredible, and I love it. I loved it, and I loved how she didn't really like she didn't even talk like really ever, but
Hmm.
like you really felt that like heaviness about her, and like even just like with that one scene where like her ear gets pierced,
Hmm.
like she's just wild. But I love that she was kind of like um a free like soul, like in the scenes where you see her in public she's this really like dark person who is like a killer, and she's kind of like a protector in a way. She kind of protects women prostitutes and like just vulnerable women from men that are like trying to hurt them or abuse them.
Hmm.
And she's kind of like low key like a vampire superhero in a way. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like what I was getting from it at first, like, but yeah, like that was just a crazy. I really didn't really understand at first the relationship part. I kind of wanted it like when Saeed came into like the picture, I kind of was like, oh, I kind of wish this was just about like her. like killing all these people who were disrespectful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like I like how they like revealed it. It was like in a way where like she didn't wanna be a killer, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to feel like free and like, you know, like how she felt in her room, like all those scenes that are very dramatic and her like dancing just like so freely and all that stuff. And then when she meets Saeed and she kind of like takes down like her guard, you know, and like
Yeah.
she doesn't wear like her headgear, and that's like definitely symbolic of like who she is, and um, oh, it's just it's really good, and you would think that because this movie is about 2 hours long, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna lie, like when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours long. It's in black and white. And but I'm telling you, I watched it all the way through. It's oh, I'm sorry, running time 110 minutes. Yeah, so
Yeah, a
a little
little
over
under
two,
two
yeah,
hours. Yeah.
a little under 2 hours. But it wasn't boring. Like it was slow in some parts, but in those slow parts, it's tension, you know? It's like creating tension. So like it's not like it's slow and you can't like it's boring. It's slow, but like something is coming.
Right.
So yeah, it's not boring. Like everything is shot really, really well. She does a lot of like those Dutch tilts,
Mm-hmm.
which you only really see in like old noir stuff, which I thought was interesting. At first I thought it was like an old film, and then I saw the date on like when it was made, and I'm like, this was made like 2014. But she really made it seem like, you know,
Yeah.
back then, and I don't know, she did a really good job of like directing that, and just, you know, even with like the camera work and, you know, an old film noir like where we were like forced to watch like all the time in whatever wow whatever like um
Masterpieces and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
masterpieces in film, all that stuff we had to watch. Like she did a really good job of taking that and making it modern and making it fresh
Mm-hmm.
and making it like new, you
Yeah.
know, like even with like the record player. But she kind of had like that. I don't know if there was a picture of Madonna on the wall, but it was like an 80s creeper film.
Right.
I loved that too. She played off of like the 80s and like everything like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of different, and I guess that like that could even be something as simple as like maybe that's like cause they don't really say ever when the movie is set. Like I think there's a lot of people in the movie whenever you see like a cell phone, it's like a flip phone, so it might be like a little bit old, but
Yeah.
I think that like maybe one thing that that could be implying is that because you said that she doesn't really want to be this like killer or like this dangerous force or whatever. Maybe like the whole listening to 80s music or like indulging in like 80s like media or whatever is like maybe if we're talking purely like with the continuity of the movie that maybe that's when she was bitten, or maybe that's when she turned, and like that's her reminiscing to like an earlier time where she didn't have this burden. But it
Yeah.
definitely like it ground like it's like you said, the whole movie like plays with different like genres, like it's black and white and a lot of it takes place at night, so it's like a noir. The one thing that the director had said was that she described it as the first Iranian American vampire western, which
Oh
there
my
there's a lot of
word.
there's a lot of western elements. There's like a lot of, I mean, like it takes place in like a very kind of dusty, deserted,
Yeah.
rundown town, but there's a
True.
lot of like musical cues that like sound like they could fit in like an old western. There's kind of
True.
like this like dramatic sense of like you have like kind of, I don't want to say like the hero and his woman, because it really is reversed. Like she kind of does everything for him without him knowing, like
Hmm.
in improving his life and all that. But it does have that sort of dynamic of like all we have is each other, and we're gonna ride off into the sunset at the end and all that. Which I guess we could get into a little bit of spoilers now if you want. But the one thing I wanted to say really quick, you reminded me. It was, this is purely like anyone who listened to this who didn't go to Kutztown. This doesn't mean anything. But did you had Johnston for masterpieces, or did someone
Yes.
else teach that class?
No, yeah, I think I did have Johnston. I know I did.
Okay, yeah, because I had him too, and it bummed me out because he on his syllabus he like I don't know if he did this for you guys, but he like printed out like what movie we were gonna watch on each day, and he had all throughout I took it like the fall semester, and all throughout October he had like scary movies that were considered masterpieces, and he included this like in one of the ones we were going to watch, but then he changed it last second, and I was like, oh damn it, like all these people could have seen this amazing movie, and now they're not gonna get the chance. But it
I'm
is.
surprised that like I didn't hear of it before, even just from like my friends or anything like that,
Yeah.
because it's so unique. It's very unique, and it's just a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, like a lot of I feel like we like it because we like film, but I don't know if like it would be like a Netflix like hit, you know?
Yeah.
I know it won a bunch of awards and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's something that people could get like in truly like invested in because it is like being patient and kind of letting the story like unveil itself to you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's long, you know?
Yeah, it is.
And you
It's a
really
lot
have to
of
pay
atmosphere.
attention. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of atmosphere. Like the music is like the dialogue a lot of the times. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there isn't that much dialogue, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The music though, the use of music in that was so awesome, so good, so
Yeah.
clean.
I really like the one scene. We can kind of get into spoilers here a little bit, but after the costume party where the main guy Arash is that how you pronounce it? I'm terrible with all these names. I guess it is, yeah, Arash or
Right,
whatever.
it is. Yeah,
He's like he coming off of ecstasy or whatever, and he's trying to find his way home, and that's when he bumps into the girl. And like every single time we've seen her up until now, it's been like she bumps into somebody, and if it's like a bad person or whatever, she kills them. Or in the case of that little boy, where he's like walking home, and she's like, "Are you a good boy or a bad boy?" And he like won't admit that he kind of does like bad things, and she's like, "I'm gonna be watching you your whole life. You better grow up to be a good boy." Like the point being, every single encounter we have with her up until that point is like she's kind of this intimidating force, and there's not really any inkling of like humanity. But then when she meets Arash and like they're talking, she kind of takes him home, and like you see restraint, which like kind of throws you off at first, but then you realize it's like you had said, like with through the listening to music and her kind of like being in her element, you realize that this isn't necessarily something that she wants. It's something that she's like stuck with, and this guy sort of becomes her, not really like her savior, but like her
it's like
escape from that life.
like a muse or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it is very like I like that to tie it to what you were saying, like the way they incorporate music in that scene I thought was really really good. And also like any scene that she has where she's just kind of like staring someone down at night, it's just like you said, it's so tense, and like they kind of have like this droning uh like sort of underscore throughout all of those scenes. There's not really a lot of like in your face stings that you'd normally associate with like a horror movie.
For sure. And like all of, like the kills and everything are like quick and just fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unexpected and it's always like her victim is doesn't expect it and her victim's always like really calm.
Yeah.
Except for the little boy, but she didn't do anything to him. That part too was like jaw dropping to me. I was like, "Oh, so you're wild."
Yeah, this is how you get them. You scare them while they're young, and then
Yeah,
they don't turn into women abusers.
yeah. I was like, "This is smart." Wow, taking notes.
But yeah, no, it's just a really great they a lot of people describe it as a horror movie, and it definitely does have horror elements. But it's like you said, I think it definitely falls more into like kind of like a noir sort of character study for her, even though like you said, she doesn't really say a lot unless she's like talking with Arash, or
Mhm.
so there's not really much insight into her character. But like through watching the way that she acts and like the way that she does things, you do kind of like learn a lot about her, and you like learn about her like mental process and all that. And it is a very interesting character study. Like, I don't know. It's
Well,
there's a
it's
lot
so
more to
weird.
appreciate it about it. There's a lot more to
There is.
appreciate about it other than it being just a creepy horror movie.
And like it's so odd and like this is like weird. I guess it's kind of weird to say, but I like she directed it so well and like created that character where to the point that made it like almost relatable because like at one point what like the parts where she like is dancing in her room and stuff like that, like I was like, wow, like this is like me. Like this is me, like, you know, like and like that him taking ecstasy and her like doing like that the dancing and stuff like that was like her ecstasy. I don't know, it was just so well put together. But
Hmm.
we really like find out who she is like in her room. Like her room was a very big like element in the movie, I feel.
Yeah.
And
And
also the cat. Are we gonna not talk about the cat?
yeah, the cat was. I kept on when they have it in the very first shot, and I was worried like, oh, something bad's gonna happen to that cat by the end of
Wait,
this
what
movie.
was it in the first shot? Because I definitely missed that.
I think so. I think the opening shot is he just walks into frame carrying the cat. I don't remember where he
Oh
gets it
no, I do
from.
remember. He like steals it from like the
Oh,
fence.
yeah,
He
yeah,
steals
yeah,
it from the fence. Yeah.
yeah. So no, it's yeah, no. So the whole there's always that trope of like the bad thing happen the bad thing always happens to the animal first in the horror movies. I kept on waiting like, oh man, something's bad's gonna happen to that cat, but
Yeah.
no, it was it makes it through to the end, and it like it really kind of like it doesn't really become like I guess kind of an integral character through uh like revealing plot points and all that, but
Hmm.
it was very like kind of smartly used in a weird way. Like,
Yeah, like the last act, like this is a spoiler, but like the way that the music was curated with like the cat entering in the scene and then Arash kind of like has that moment of like I don't even know, like he like figures out that she had to be the one that like got rid of his dad,
hmm,
you know, and it's like in that moment like you don't really know what's going to happen because there's zero dialogue, but like you kind of like working through it with the music because then the music like changes a little bit and then it's like calmer, like the music goes to like a more like calmer pace
yeah,
and then it's like they drive off into the sunset together because it's like it's what he wanted, you know, like
hmm,
it's not what he wanted but it was like what he needed.
exactly, yeah. And the one thing that's like you said, he figures out that that like that she had to have been involved in what happened to his dad, which uh it is interesting because like he doesn't know in just the cat being there he doesn't know for sure that like she's necessarily the one who did it. Maybe he's just thinking, oh, she knows something or she was involved in some way, but
Mhm.
he still doesn't know like you're a vampire. He just knows,
Yeah.
oh, you did something wrong. And if I'm like thinking from his perspective, I'm thinking like, wait, you were also coming out of the place where that drug dealer's place. So, and I saw him dead. So you must have something to do with that. But like, he still doesn't really like know what's going on
Yeah.
by the end. And I liked that where it's like, he's, it's like, it's a very specific scenario, but it's a very like, relatable kind of situation where it's like I don't know if this is necessary, like you I just said, I don't know that this is necessarily the right thing to do, but it feels right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And that's kind of like the note that we end on is like him being uneasy about her and her being like, I don't know if he can really accept what I am, but they both kind of have that mutual agreement of like, we both need this and we both kind of need each other, so let's be with each
Yeah,
other for now.
for sure. And then they just take their trip and they go like they kind of like leave all like they had to leave that all behind kind of. That's what
Hmm.
I got from it at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
I kind of took from it at first that he was just kind of saying, we need to get out of here purely because he's like, oh, my dad's dead. I could be next or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
but like upon seeing it again, I kind of think of it as more of like there's nothing here for me anymore. You're the only
Mhm.
tie that I really have to this area. And I get the sense that you kind of want to get out. So let's go away. together, and yeah, it's a very it just goes with like the whole thing that the director had said about it being a Western. It's just a very like let's leave this place behind. All we need is each other, but kind of
Yeah,
like in a more unique, sad kind of way.
yeah, it's put together so well.
Hmm.
Love it.
It's
I
fantastic.
definitely like. I was trying to like find more stuff by her after that.
Yeah. Looking at her Wikipedia, it looks like she's done. Like I said, this is her first movie. She did The Bad Batch in 2016, which I think was more well known because I haven't seen that movie, but the title definitely sounds familiar. Looks like that had Jason Momoa. Oh, then to tie all the way back, we have Jason Momoa, Keanu Reeves, and Jim Carrey were all in it. So that has to be interesting. Uh, what else has she done? It looks like she did some TV work for the new Twilight Zone, Castle Rock, and Legion, and Breakthrough. I don't know what Breakthrough is, but it looks
Oh,
like
I'm happy that she's like. I guess I'm late to this party because she's been doing so much stuff. Holy crap!
yeah, no, it looks like yeah, she's been definitely keeping busy, but I haven't seen The Bad Batch, but I'd definitely like to check that out. I'm actually no, I do remember seeing clips of that now that I think about it cuz I remember Jim Carrey, he plays like a weird like live in the desert hermit guy who never talks, which is like such a strange thing for Jim
In this
Carrey to
house.
do, like for
Yeah,
Jim
like,
Carrey to just not talk in a movie, but it was oh man, but yeah no. So let's see if I can remember her last name. Anna Lily Amirpour.
hmm
Uh, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for her. She's been looks like she's been doing some amazing work, and I'm definitely eager to see what she puts out next.
Me too, for sure.
So I
If,
guess
if he puts anything out soon, we should do another episode.
another episode. Yeah, no, I'll have you
Yes.
on again, and we'll recommend each other The Bad Batch, and we'll check that out because it definitely sounds really interesting.
I'm looking at the poster for it, and I can just tell it's something. It's like a girl holding a gun, and it's like her butt, and her butt has like a winky face on it. It just looks like something I'd be into. I can just tell.
Well, I guess yeah, that's a teaser then. Tune in sometime in the near future
Yeah,
for Allison's return, and we'll talk about more Anna Lily Amirpour movies.